Biden White House is discussing preemptive pardons for those in Trump's crosshairs, okay? And there's quite a few of them here. I don't know, Rob, if he's explaining in the video or not. Biden's aides, led by White House counsel Ed Siskel, are debating preemptive pardons for public affairs officials could face retaliation, including Adam Schiff, Liz Cheney. Fauci, Schiff rejected the idea, saying, I would urge the president not to do that. I think it would seem defensive and unnecessary. The time for cautious restraints is over. We must act with urgency to push back against these treats and prevent Trump from abusing its power, et cetera, et cetera. Rob, if you want to play this clip, go for it.
Yeah, so this is, just so you know, this is from 2020. This is Joy Reid with Adam Schiff, where they talk about preemptive pardons when it comes to Donald Trump possibly pardoning his children and why that was a huge problem.
Oh, weird.
Barack Obama never had to think about whether he needed to pardon Sasha and Valia, and yet Donald Trump is reportedly discussing pardons for his kids. The presidential pardon was originally meant to grant the president the power to temper justice with mercy. It was not enshrined in our Constitution so that a dishonorable man could reward his criminal allies, friends, and family for their corrupt practices. Trump is considering preemptive pardons for his adult children. Late last night, we learned that Trump has discussed preemptive pardons for his 3 eldest progeny. The news was first reported by the New York Times. And joining me now is Congressman Adam Schiff of California, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime? Who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, it's the president's own family. It's people that have been covering up for the president in addition to his own family. This is hilarious. And so there is a self-interest at play as well. It's been essentially a den of thieves environment. And so I think the president used this as his way of trying to protect those that have protected him.
Kevin Spacey right there.
What's the other clip you got, Rob?
The other is just an MSNBC analyst explaining why Biden should issue preemptive pardons.
Let's see what this person says. I'm curious.
Grant of clemency. I hope that President Biden will also issue preemptive pardons to all of those people threatened by the injustice of what will become the Department of Justice in the Trump administration. That, of course, includes Jack Smith and all of his staff, many Department of Justice lawyers. It includes President Biden himself, although we don't know that anyone can legally pardon themselves. He will need a pardon because he is going to be harassed and charged for no crimes whatsoever. Donald Trump has promised that.
Anthony, to pick up on that.
By the way, what's his name? Yesterday, I'm watching Rand Paul, and Rand Paul says Fauci is probably going to get a pardon. He's saying, and you know, Rand Paul and those two have been going back and forth. He's probably going to get a pardon. Then he said Biden could potentially pardon his own brother and give the same kind of a pardon. And the trickiest one that was said is that he may even pardon himself because of what could happen. Now, has there ever been a president that pardoned themselves?
Not as far as I know. So, look, I used to be friends with Joy Reid when I was an anchor on MSNBC. And so we had a huge falling out afterwards. And the reason is, what is that? I mean, look at the propaganda. So I'm principled. I don't think that Trump should have pardoned Steve Bannon, Roger Stone, Charles Kushner. Charles Kushner's family had nothing to do with the administration at the time. But I also don't think Hunter Biden should be pardoned. I don't think Adam Schiff and all these people need to be pardoned. So what do we? First of all, there is no such. This is an invention, preemptive pardon. What the F is that, right? That's not a thing, right? So you got to be charged with a crime. You actually have to be convicted of a crime before you get a pardon. But Trump screwed that up because the minute any of his allies were in trouble, I pardon. So Trump definitely did it. But you can't, if you're Joy Reid or you're MSNBC or you're these people, you can't say, I can't believe Trump was thinking of pardoning his family members or pardon. Oh, but of course Biden should pardon his family members and all of his allies, et cetera. So the idea of staying principled is just an anathema to them. They hate it. And so, look, I have a suggestion. Let's see if we can agree to this one. I have one pardon suggestion for Trump, but Biden could beat him to the punch and get all the glory. Pardon Edward Snowden. Okay, Edward Snowden revealed
They're talking about that.
the deep state wiretapping us, listening to average Americans, right? He's an American hero. The left-wing populists have always thought Edward Snowden was a hero. And so can we get an agreement here that a pardon of Edward Snowden makes sense?
I agree 100% that he needs to get pardoned. I do.
Yeah.
What about you, Tom?
100%. And Silk Road.
Okay. So look, if we all agree that Edward Snowden should be pardoned, let's go. Pardon actual heroes. Pardon people who actually need a pardon. Pardon people who looked out for the American people rather than themselves.
I agree.
So let's go. And by the way, if we all unite on these things, what do I mean by unite? Is that if we all push it together, and like today, if it goes viral that Edward Snowden should get the pardon, the good news about Trump, and this is, I always give credit where credit is due, is he actually listens to people. Like, he cares about his base. And this is what drives me crazy about the Democratic Party. They don't care about their base at all. They kind of don't like their base, right? But when I put out the tweet about Elon Musk and cutting the Pentagon, why did Elon and Donald Trump Jr. respond? Is it because of me? Maybe partially, but mainly it was because look at all those right-wingers in the comments section going, yeah, cut the Pentagon. Yes, conflict of interest rules for generals. And I bet I can get agreement on that here too, right? Mm-hmm. But I am curious. Do you guys want to cut the Pentagon?
Of course.
Cut the Pentagon. So let's go through a couple different numbers because we actually just did this the other day. The annual budget of how much the U.S. government spent last year was what, Rob? $4.7 trillion? I think the number is $4.7 trillion, okay? Of the $4.7 trillion, what is it, 6.1? I know, but I took the 1.4 out. Right, they're about $4.5 trillion in revenue is what it gets. We spent 6.1 trillion, so about 4.5, 4.7 is the money that comes in, that we collect,
yeah, our
right?
income is about 5 trillion, and our expenses is over 6. So we're well over $1 trillion in debt.
Of the 4.7 trillion, you know where we spend the most money, Rob? Can you type in where we spend most of the money? What percentage goes to what? Do you know what it is?
Yeah, I do.
What is it?
It's all Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Those are the big
three.
You
know what's three?
Yeah.
Military. Okay, so now check this out.
You know what's tied with the military?
What's that?
Is the interest on our debt.
Right. But
it's well over $1 trillion.
It is. So check this out. I got a couple ideas if you're going there. I have a couple ideas. If you zoom in, Rob, I just want to show the categories because I think it's 27%, 21%, 18%. Brandon, can you send it right
Rob,
there?
If you go to that and hit images.
So 21% Social Security, 18% National Defense, 15% Health, 13% Medicare. And if you go in the charts for the audience to see, there's a few things that we need to do because this is the problem. I don't think that's the one. There's another one that's a better one. That's an older one. Anyways, this is my thoughts on this. And actually, we put some time thinking about it. Do you know what U.S. just 150 years ago, do you know where 100% of our revenue was coming from?
Tariffs.
100% was tariffs.
100%.
Yeah. No income tax.
We lived. Everything for us was off of tariffs, okay? Everything for us was off of tariffs, okay? Do you know the U.S. government, what percentage of the U.S. income they were living off of? Meaning the money that we make, the money that we make that they tax, 2%. Now it's 37%. They rely on what we do and what we produce, okay? Tariffs. We get rid of tariffs. We introduce taxes. Every time taxes was introduced, you know what it was due? For war, right? Let's do this war. No problem. What's his name comes out? Lincoln War, comes out, yeah. Civil War. Hey, guys, we need to tax you up to 7%. It's tiers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Great. Once we pay off the debt for the war, we'll stop taxing you. Guess what happened 10 years later?
Another war.
No, they paid off the war. They stopped taxing.
Oh.
So it's like, okay, we're done. Next. Okay, we're done. Boom, next. Do you know in 1894 what happened? Rob, type in 1894, Supreme Court ruled, I think it's called something against farmers, Pollack against farmers. Type in Pollack against farmers. Do you know in 1894 what Supreme Court ruled unconstitutional? Income taxes. In 1894, Supreme Court ruled Pollack versus farmers that federal income tax was unconstitutional. That's just 100 years ago. Just 100 years ago. Then what happens? Then all of a sudden we have 19 13. Two things happened in 1913, right before World War I. What is it? Federal Reserve and taxes gets introduced. What happens in 1914? You got World War I starts. Then what happens? You know what happens next in the 30s? You know when we introduce and we accept it? The taking income from your paycheck. Nobody did that. It's the, what do you call it when you're taking income out of your payroll taxes? And American people are like, yeah, let's agree to it. Dead. From that moment on, you were done. You agreed for the government to take taxes before you make money. That was like, this is what we fought for, right? So then fast forward to today. Do you know right now with the revenues that we get, what the exact dollar amount the U.S. government gets from tariffs?
Now?
Do you know what the exact dollar amount we get from tariffs? What do you think the dollar amount, income that comes into them?
Ooh.
From us, they're getting $4.7 trillion, give or take, right?
How much are we?
Of the $4.7 trillion that the U.S. gets, what percentage you think is other countries paying tariffs?
Less than
What do you think is the
5%.
dollar amount? Give me the dollar amount. Of the $4.7 trillion, what do you think is the dollar amount that we collect?
$50 billion.
What do you think? 50 billion out of 4.7 trillion?
That's very low.
That's like 99.9% is on us.
1.2
Yeah.
1.2 what?
trillion?
What do you think it is, Tom?
No, I don't think it's in the trillions. I'm guessing. I think it's in the billions.
I'm going to stay closer to $1.5 trillion.
Trillion and a half? You know what the number is? $80 billion.
Jeez.
Look at this guy.
That is
Did you-
I took the under.
That-
Look at this guy.
Tom,
Yes.
tell me you're not shell-shocked. Please tell me you're not
I'm
shell-shocked.
completely shell-shocked because I know
watch
the War
this.
Powers Act of
Check
the
this
War
out.
Revenue Act 1918.
You may be asking yourself, I asked you a question about Pentagon. What the hell does this have to do with Pentagon? You know what it has to do with Pentagon? Do you know right now we tax 2% tariffs? Our average tariff is 2% on countries. Because it's $4 trillion that we get. We tax 2%. What's 2%? $80 billion. Do you realize if we raised across the board that $4 trillion that you're doing business with us, across the board, we raise tariffs to 25% no matter what country it is, we now generate $1 trillion. Now, let me go to the other part. Do you know how much military personnel we have in Japan? Do you know how much military personnel we have in Japan? Give or take. How many soldiers do we have in Japan right now?
20,000.
52,000 people,
Wow.
give or take. Why do we have 52,000 people in Japan? We're protecting from who? From possibly what?
China.
Okay, so
North
let's
Korea.
North Korea, China. We have military in South Korea. Okay, but who's providing protection? We are, right? Okay. Do you know who we owe the most money to? Japan.
Oh,
they have a $1 trillion bond on us.
In our bonds, yeah.
In our bonds, right? Do you know if you calculate from 1945, give or take, till today that we've had all those soldiers there, how much that investment has been to Japan? Roughly $410 billion. So say $500 billion. So what if we go and we negotiate with Japan and we say the following, listen, guys, we appreciate you guys. You're amazing. We're willing to continue to provide you protection from all the enemies around you. However, that $1.5 trillion loan, the bond that you bought, we have to split it in half because since 1945, we've given you protection. We got to cut this out. This has got to be gone. We're not doing this anymore moving forward. So our debt from 1.1 officially became $600 billion. Great. Moving forward, all the other countries, minimum 25%. Boom. Our income now went from 80 billion to what? $1 trillion. We did the math yesterday. I'm sorry, not yesterday, 3 days ago, on what it would take for us to make income taxes zero in U.S. You know it's actually possible? Do you know it's actually possible to make income taxes zero? It'll take 10 years to get there, but we can actually make income taxes zero. Some adjustments. A big part of it was eliminating things like Pentagon, getting rid of many of these military, the stuff that we have 800 military bases worldwide. What are we doing? And we're paying for it? No, you pay for it. We're giving you protection. If I right now, yesterday we gave away a few hundred Christmas trees out of property. It was a sick experience. I don't know if you were out there or not.
Shooting.
It was freaking awesome out there. People would come and take in cars. They're like, what do I have to pay you? Nothing. Take a 7-foot Christmas tree on us from Carolina. Take that stand. Take these ornaments. God bless. Merry Christmas. People are in tears crying.
Amazing.
Yesterday while they're there, right? Literally crying. We had 30 police officers there yesterday. We had security over there. Are they doing it for charity? No, the security is protecting, right? What do you do with security? You have to provide them.
Of course.
If we're providing all the security for all these countries, why are we paying for it? You got to pay us for it, right? So there are so many ways that the way money is managed right now, which is absolutely ridiculous, that if we actually sat there, This is why I'm excited about DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. If there's anybody that can pull off firing and cutting and get them, do you know what percentage of government employees show up to work every day? Do you know what percentage?
40?
Do you know what percentage of government employees have to come and work at the office every day? You know what the percentage is?
Is it less than 40?
6%.
What?
Right there. Read
the
it.
Government
House
is all
Speaker
remote?
Balk at Senate report showing only 6% of federal workers show up in person on a full-time basis.
What the hell are they doing?
Work from home.
Oh, no.
They could be part-time. Like, so, yeah, it doesn't mean that that's the only people that show up. It just means that only 6% are showing up 5 days
Even
a
if
week.
we take 50% of it, and let's just say the
It's
full
still
time,
a
it's still
unbelievable
12%.
number.
So that number is still
that's nuts.
What's the point, though? Hey, you want to work from home? Go in the free market and see if you make it.
Yeah.
Go, because you know who's paying that? You know who's paying that? We're paying for that. There is like a decision like this we can make where half our expenditure can be gone within 2 years. Literally. And we have to put everything on the table. What do you guys do? Jon Stewart asks you, hey, how do you miss an audit for Pentagon? Well, I don't like the way you say it because that's not really what it is. I'm sorry. What other way is it? Have you seen this interview with Stewart and the lady?
Yeah, no, I didn't see it, but that infuriates me. So, no, look, you missed 7 audits in a row. If that happens in a private company, you're in a world of trouble if you miss one audit.
Yeah.
Where's the money?
You're a zombie company at that point.
And if you're a CEO of a company and your CFO, your chief financial officer, screws it up so that he misses it, you can't pass an audit, and your investors don't know where the money is, that brother's going to get fired. And he's going to get fired in the first year, not in the 7th year. So if I was Trump and I said, hey, look, put me in, coach, right? If I'm Trump, Elon, et cetera, I'd ask the generals, where's the effing money? If you can't tell me where $400 billion is, because they missed by about $400 billion. If you can't show me where $400 billion of our money is, you either find the money or you find your next job. Okay? Period. I'm not interested in, I can't find $400 billion. I mean, in 2015, this is, again, this platforming bullshit. They buried a report because they don't want it to get out from the Pentagon that they knew for a fact $125 billion was just for waste, fraud, and abuse. I mean, they're just robbing us blind. Soap dispensers sold by Boeing at an 800% markup. Okay, can you do that in a real business? You can't do that in a real business, but if in the Pentagon, and guys, remember, why did I pick the Pentagon? Because that's a place where if you ever questioned it, the establishment would say, how dare you, you're endangering national security.
You're un-American.
You're going to get us all killed if we don't pay 800% markup for soaps. And you remember the golden toilets and the $800 hammers.
Support the troops, Jack.
Yeah, support the troops. So when they did that bullshit, remember I fought Dick Cheney before he was in the Democratic Party, and I'd say support the troops. I looked it up at the time, and now it's a tiny bit better, but not much. This incoming salary for service members was $19,000. $19,000 a year. Where's the support the troops? The money isn't going to the troops. The money's going to Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, etc. Okay? So let's go. I mean, look, Bernie and AOC suggested a bill to cut the Pentagon by about $89 billion a couple of years back, right? And it went nowhere because the Republicans voted against it, Democrats voted against it. The establishment never wants to cut the Pentagon. You tell me we need twice as much money as we did just like 10 years ago? Bullshit. They're robbing us blind. They're robbing us blind.
Now,
so look, here's another agreement of the internet, the right wing, the left wing, the outsiders saying, for God's sake, cut the Pentagon. Look, I would say at least $100 billion. If you're not cutting $100 billion, you didn't even try.
Oh, no. We can cut, in my opinion, $2 trillion. And you know what my idea is with Social Security? Hey, to all the people that paid in, old folks, we're going to take care of you. Moving forward, anybody else, you paid in this much, here's money back to you. Do whatever you want to do. Moving forward, there's no Social Security. However, when you're above 65 years old, if you choose to work after 65 years old, you pay no income taxes. Go out there. You're not paying any taxes. If you choose to work for a few years, you're making $180,000 a year. You're going to go 5 more years, 7 more years. That $180,000 you make over the next 5 years, or your $78,000 you make over the next 7 years, guess what? Zero taxes. Save all of it. That because we're living to 90 years old.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? Back in the days when Social Security was introduced at 62, 65, we were dying at 62. Only a few thousand people actually got Social Security. We have to make some bold decisions with this. By the way, going back to the pardon, do you know which presidents have pardoned the most people? Because you said pardon, Trump pardoned this guy, Trump pardoned that guy. You know who's pardoned the most people? It's interesting when you think about it. Do you think more Republicans pardon people or Democrats pardon people?
Democrats.
My guess is if you're bringing it up, it was Democrats.
But watch this. You know what? I didn't know until you said that. So when you said that, I was like, because you know how you said gerrymandering, typically Republicans, historically, it's true. It's known that they're more creative when it comes down to the gerrymandering stuff. Okay, fine. 60-40 Republicans do more than Dems. But pardons, watch this. Grob, pull this up and do me a favor right there. Watch this. Go ahead. FDR pardoned the most people. Wow. Nearly 4,000. Liberal. Wilson, 2,480. Liberal. Truman, 2,000. Obama is fourth place with nearly 2,000 people.
Wow. Coolidge, on the leaders board.
Coolidge, I think, was a conservative, Republican, if I'm not mistaken. Hoover. Grant. Johnson. Eisenhower. Cleveland. Roosevelt. Nixon. Where's Trump? Hayes. Harding. Taft. Harrison. John F. Kennedy. Where's Trump?
Keep going.
Carter. Clinton. Ford. Where is Trump? Lincoln, Reagan. Where is Trump? 237.
Wow, there he is.
Do you realize Trump only pardoned 10% of what Obama pardoned?
Wow.
And you guys are talking about Trump pardons.
And there's
everybody.
W.
No, but Pat, it depends on who you pardon. Well, so, for example, hold on. For example, Clinton's really low on that list. But who did he pardon at the end? He pardoned all of his donors. So, you see what I'm saying? It's not just the raw number. They might have given pardons to people who deserved it. After a war, sometimes they pardon folks who didn't serve in the war, et cetera, right? But Clinton pardoned Mark Rich, who was a super rich donor of his. So when you pardon people that are in your family, like he did with Charles Kushner, like Trump did with Charles Kushner, that's the issue.
What's worse than pardoning your own son?
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
So
but again, I'm principled. I agree with you.
I understand. So all I'm saying is sometimes you hear about pardon. Guess what? Moving forward, now we know who pardoned a lot of people and who didn't pardon a lot of people. 237. As much as they talk, the way the media paints Trump as if he pardoned 17,000 people. 237 is who he pardoned, okay? And we're going to see here who Biden's going to be pardoning with the next few weeks. That's going to be real interesting. Everybody is on the mindset of future looks bright, and we've been saying this for a few years. We wanted 1 million people to wear the gear future looks bright. If you notice one thing, I was sitting down with a few different people. The most common question being asked for me this week was, Pat, how come you don't take sponsors anymore? I said, because we want to represent what we believe in. I don't want to get here and tell you, go use this tool to shave yourself and all this other stuff, and we take $500,000 or go buy this Bitcoin or crypto or tool. That's not us. But you know what we do believe in? Our stuff that we do. If I represent any other sponsorship, it's because we love their product and we use it. Right now, Future Looks Bright, new hats just came out. These will go on. I guarantee you, when you see this thing here and it's in front of you and you see the 3D, you're going to see how many compliments you get of these Future Looks Bright gear that came out. The black and red, the green and white, the PBD Podcast one here that says Future Looks Bright, Valuetainment on the side. Vinny has the, which one is that, Vinny?
It's the flat brim.
Flat brim, the white with the PBD Podcast. The green is insane with the green and the white and the bottom. Future Looks Bright. Go place your order. The first 100 people that place an order on these new hats will get a Future Looks Bright mug that is here. The first 100, this will be sent to you. Place your order. Go to vtmerch.com. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.